I started working on the Academy Awards when I worked at NBC. I did an Academy Awards show, I think it was in 1953 or 54. I remember going to the Coconut Grove to do the pre-show or the announcing of the Academy Awards. And over the years, I had dressed on the Academy Awards and been a part of it for many, many years. And I just people started calling me and said, "Would you do this?" And in the beginning, when we did award shows, they were like variety shows because we did musical numbers on them. As you know now, those are a thing of the past. But that's how I started working on them because we did do musical numbers and we did sketches. So it was like doing a variety show. Now, when we do them, I'm primarily there as a support team in case anybody needs anything. And a lot of very loyal producers still call me, and a wonderful associate producer by the name of Michael Seligman, who has been so good to me. And whenever he's working on an award show, he just calls and says, "Will you do it for us?" And I do it. It's that simple. Quite often, I don't do anything except show up and stand by in case anybody needs anything.
Well, before the era of Who Are You Wearing, which has been pretty much the
Yeah,
last 10 years, it
yeah.
seems, what were the demands of designing for the award shows in terms of, I mean, everything now is like there's a name attached to almost
Yeah.
everything you see, especially with the stars. Back then, were there requests that you design evening wear for some of the stars or
Sometimes I
presenters?
did. I did. Let me think. I did Lily Tomlin. She called me once and she said, "I want to be Ernestine, but I want to be Ernestine at a glamorous award show." And I did a white beaded dress that had a telephone embroidered on the shoulder of it. One year she called me and she said, "I want to be the tackiest star possible." And I did a very exaggerated drapey dress with a little white mink stole, and she came in with two wolfhounds. I did Martha Ray on an award show. She had been on an Andy Williams show, and she liked what she won. She said, "Do me a dress for that." I did the last dress that Betty Grable wore to an award show. Once again, she'd been on a variety show and liked what she wore and asked me to do a gown for her, and it was the last public appearance that she made. I did the last gown that Lucille Ball ever wore to an award show because we had worked together a lot over the years. So maybe it's not too lucky to have me do award show dresses. Lucille herself called me the morning afterwards and she said, "Buy this damn dress back from me." And I said, "I don't want to buy it, Lucy." She said, "Well, I can't ever wear it again. I've been photographed more in that dress than anything I've ever worn." She said, "I'll never be able to put it on again." And then some woman did call me a few weeks later and said that she had bought the dress and asked me for a letter of authenticity to go along with it. So I guess that was it.
Did you also design for the kind of glamour girls who would come out with the Oscars and the awards and help
I
assist at the
can't say
podium?
I designed. I always borrowed or bought clothes for them, but that's the trophy ladies.
The trophy ladies.
And usually they do not want you to spend money on that. So I would buy clothes or I would borrow clothes. Quite often I borrowed clothes from Bob Mackey's line, or I would there's a firm called Tadashi that was kind enough to loan me clothes over the years. I always like to keep those ladies as part of the scenery. I don't like for them to be more than anybody on stage. It's my philosophy on it. Other people may disagree, but I don't think they should detract from any lady who's on stage. That's why I never put them in color, because if they're in red and a lady comes on stage in a red dress, there is a conflict. Whereas if they're in black and a lady comes in a black dress, it really doesn't bother you. So they're part of the scenery for me.
Well, you must have read my mind because my next question was going to be that about if they was there actually a dictum about them not outshining the winners, but you said
It
it was
was
your own personal
my own
philosophy.
philosophy on it, and I've worked on the Academy Awards when I've worked with other designers, and I always give them that philosophy, and quite often they agree. A couple of times they haven't; they've made them quite flashy, but that's their version of it. When I started working on the Academy, Edith Head was in charge of what everybody wore, and there was a studio system, and most of the time the studios would loan or do a dress for the leading lady who was going to show up. And then as it evolved, the studio system broke down. The clothes had to come from somewhere. The publicity people contacted the big designers who were more than eager to get their name out there, and that's how all that started. It was an economics problem. The Academy Awards wasn't going to pay for a dress for the star, so the star's publicity people contacted Versace, Yves Saint Laurent, or whoever to provide the dress for credit.
I think one of the most famous Oscar, I don't know whether to call it a gown, a dress, or a costume, was Cher.
Yes.
Were you there then? Were you at that? Did you have
I
involvement in
dressed
that?
her in that. I dressed her and then went up to the house and dressed her in it. Yes, yeah.
Was there, you said how willing she was to take chances. Was there any hesitation with that costume because it was so outrageous?
I can't remember what she used to have trick phrases she would give to Bob, like Road Warrior meets Tammy, and she would throw this out to him, and that's what she wanted to look like. I don't remember what this one was, how they came up with it, but whatever it was, it certainly created a stir, right, wrong, or indifferent. It did create a moment of interest, and as Don Amici said years later, when they said, "Did you feel upstaged?" He said, "I would have never been photographed winning my Oscar if it hadn't been for Cher standing next to me."